world as part of the Alliance. So on behalf of our 17 institutional members and observers and our 68 collaborating organizations, on behalf of our esteemed co-chairs, Jackson Love from PayPal and David Delcer from BFA Global, the Secretariat co-leads, myself, Jesse Kripp, and my esteemed colleague, Dr. Nelly Ramirez, who is a year wiser today as well. We're very pleased to announce you or to welcome you to the third annual Earth Day Roundtable of the CIFAR Alliance. And for first timers, if this is your first time encountering us, you're going to learn a lot about who we are and what we do, but we certainly encourage you to visit our website at cifaralliance.org, follow us on LinkedIn, and get involved, but we'll talk a bit more about that. As you dial in or chime in, feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat, who you are, what organization you're from, where you are in the world, and maybe what excites you about Earth Day and our conversations today. And we'll be doing Q&A throughout in the chat, but we will have a number of opportunities to have conversations. And as I said, we do have a full agenda. This will be anchored by a few really exciting items, including an innovators fire chat, where we'll be hearing from founders who are actually delivering resilient innovation in the field around the world, which is really exciting. We'll have a very robust breakout room for engaged conversations on a couple of really exciting themes and some recently produced knowledge products where we'd like to get your feedback and input. We'll be hearing from Lilian Tan of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Morning, Lilian. We'll talk about our climate landscape series that we've recently completed, as well as the CIFAR Alliance Ecosystem Playbook, and we'll be closing with a call to action per tradition from our co-chairs. But before we get into all of that, it is my very great honor to introduce a foundational partner, Ali Schmidt-Fellner, Vice President for Insights with the MasterCard Center for Inclusive Growth, who will be setting the tone with a keynote for our 2024 focus on accelerating innovation at the intersection of climate and finance, as well as sharing updates on the member journey thus far, not only for MasterCard Center for Inclusive Growth, but more broadly, as well as highlights of our work completed together in 2023. So Ali, a very warm welcome to you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jesse, and welcome everyone. Happy Earth Day. Happy birthday, Nelly. Just learned about that. Hope everyone's having a great day so far. Happy to share a couple brief remarks before we get into the exciting agenda today. So as we commemorate this important day, it's my pleasure to reflect on the Center for Inclusive Growth's journey with the CIFAR Alliance. Since joining, we've strengthened our community here by welcoming key new members like the Climate Collective, CIP, Busara, and Catalyst Fund. And the Alliance, in its pretty short lifetime, has created over a dozen knowledge products and expanded our network to include 68 member organizations across the climate and finance sectors. Our collective efforts have reached thousands through our events around the world, spanning almost all continents. And we're particularly proud at the Center for Inclusive Growth to support the launch of the Climate Smart Innovation Hub, as well as hosting local climate hackathons in Cape Town and Bogota to spotlight and support the pioneering work of impact-driven local entrepreneurs in emerging economies. These entrepreneurs are at the forefront of innovation, developing planet-positive products that also add economic value for their customers. We've mapped over 74 climate smart solutions across 12 different regions through the Innovation Hub, and that's just a start. And looking ahead, I am incredibly excited about the Alliance's continued growth and our focus on putting innovators at the heart of the solutions we urgently need to combat climate change. So thank you all for your dedication to this vital cause and for being here with us today. And thank you in particular to the innovators who will participate in the panel today, who are really at the heart of the mission of the Alliance. Back to you, Jesse.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ali, for those inspiring words to get us started. And we'll dive right in that spirit. We'll pass the talking stick to Liliane, who will be presenting the Climate Landscape series, a really exciting knowledge product that is hot off the presses, so to speak. So Liliane, over to you.
Thank you, Jesse. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and happy Earth Day. My name is Liliane Tan. I am with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on the Inclusive Financial Systems team, where I focus on women's financial inclusion. And within the Inclusive Financial Systems team, we have for many years focused on strengthening financial ecosystems that work for everyone. And last year, we began by asking ourselves some really serious questions around the role of climate change, the environment, its effect on financial access and usage, and the wider sector's role in climate action. And to help us really explore these questions, last year we worked with BFA to put together a climate landscape series around the role and relationship of the financial inclusion sector and climate. And recognizing that the entire sector could probably really benefit from this landscaping, this series has evolved into a public good that I believe has been previewed and will be released shortly. And also probably thanking many of, in addition to BFA, many of you in the room as well who probably contributed some of these insights into the landscaping. I don't really think I need to tell anyone in this group that accelerating climate journeys in financial inclusion sector is key. There's a large opportunity for the sector to play a pivotal role in climate action, including our broad customer reach among vulnerable populations, in particular women, rural customers, and those in agriculture, who are all at the front lines of climate change. We also have, as a sector, an ability to finance and distribute climate solutions, and really a capacity to channel and scale climate investments. The series, the landscaping series, is really a comprehensive set of decks on a variety of critical topics, including climate justice, the relationship between digital finance and climate finance flows, nuanced impact of climate change on women, and breakthroughs in climate smart essential services. The series also delves into the nuances of various existing climate finance frameworks and taxonomies to help us understand existing solutions out there and ways of merging financial inclusion and climate. It presents learnings from existing climate solutions and discusses the burgeoning domain of inclusive climate finance, including GWP programs and voluntary carbon markets. Our audience for these decks range wide, from policymakers to researchers to grassroots organizations and financial service providers, as we all navigate the complex climate landscape and climate's role in financial inclusion. We hope you'll find these resources useful to spark further dialogue, contribute new insights, and help you further define your role or strategy within financial inclusion and climate. We knew within the IFS team at the foundation that the landscaping taught us a lot, including that the role of climate on our work is complex, fairly nascent, even though it's been a longstanding issue. It requires collaboration, and that continued attention, research, and piloting is needed. And finally, just wanted to send out a huge thank you to BFA, including Nellie and David that I see on camera, as well as many of you who I'm sure were contributing insights behind the scenes. Thank you for putting this much needed landscape together and making it publicly available. Thank you, and back to Jesse.
Thank you, Liliane. Thanks for that great overview of this amazing piece of work, and thanks to you and the Gates Foundation for your terrific partnership in bringing this new resource to light. And moving into the implementing side of the program, it's really exciting today to have with us a number of founders who are part of the real work, who are really driving the real work in the field. And we'll be having a fire chat panel that Nellie will be leading us through. So Nellie, right over to you.
Thank you, Jesse. And we're really honored and happy to have 4 innovators join us today for a panel to celebrate Earth Day with their work on the ground, and their innovation and their courage, honestly, is really at the heart of what we do. And we brought, we were happy to be joined by innovators from 3 different regions of the world. And I will be presenting them right now. In Mexico, we have Paulina Zanella, who is the CEO of Talasso Biotech, transforming the Sargassum Challenge into sustainable opportunities. From London, we have Jinal Surti, co-founder of Epoch, revolutionizing sustainable supply chain in agriculture and forestry, building at the intersection of climate, supply chain, and payments through fintech. From Mozambique, we have Cruzia Waila. I really hope I pronounced that correctly. An architect turned innovator who focuses on sustainable urban infrastructure through her startup, Si Baxile. And from Nigeria, Samuel Efosa Austin, founder of Eco Africa Digital and Tech for Good Africa, who's integrating environmental and social responsibility into Africa's economic strategies. Thank you all for joining us today. We're really happy and honored to have you here and to learn from you, both the climate challenges that you're solving, the innovations and the challenges that you continue to overcome in your journey. To start, Paulina, could you share a little bit about to us about Talasso Biotech that uses seaweed management to address environmental issues? What impact has your innovation had so far, and what problem is it solving for, as many of us could not be familiar to the particular Mexican context with sargassum?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Happy Earth Day. Paulina from Mexico. I am co-founder of Talasso and Talasso Biotech. We have been working over 4 years trying to find solutions to tackle Sargasso challenge, not only in Mexico, but in the Caribbean region. So climate change caused an unprecedented blooming of Sargasso seaweed. And this, of course, this is a big problem not only for Mexico, but 48 countries already, mostly in Caribbean, West Africa, United States, now starting to arrive to Europe as well. So yes, climate change caused this unprecedented blooming of Sargasso. The calculation is there are over 40 million tons of this seaweed drifting around the Atlantic and the Caribbean. And the problem is when it lands by the beach and it starts decomposing, it threatens economies, livelihoods, ecosystems by killing marine life, destroying businesses, and hurting badly the health of coastal communities who are breathing the gases emitted by the rotting seaweed. So what we are doing in Talasso is turning the problem into an opportunity through a decentralized model. So we are building these container-based refineries where we can transform Sargasso into high-value ingredients. And this is something that is, for me, very exciting. Seaweed ingredients are everywhere. Like I can secure you that you are all wearing a seaweed ingredient, or you have it on your face if you use the cream, toothpaste, if you ate an ice cream, if you put some, it is literally everywhere. And the potential is also very interesting. So there's a big trend shifting from synthetic fertilizers or biostimulants to seaweed-based ones. And then there are people making textiles out of seaweed. There are people making bioplastics out of seaweed. So what we're doing in Talasso is creating, developing these technological tools for coastal communities so they can transform the seaweed and then provide the ingredients to all these great innovators who are making these products based on seaweed. And well, that's the job that we're doing in Talasso. Very exciting. We are now in the process of building the proof of concept. We have already extracted these ingredients in the lab. We're very excited studying some applications of these ingredients, which have been used to treat cancer, to treat Alzheimer. So again, the potential is massive. And I think one of the biggest challenges is to break paradigms and try people to change their mindset. And instead of perceiving Sargasso as garbage that is ruining their businesses, their economies, and it's smelly and ugly, making them understand this is a Caribbean gold. Like if you manage it properly, then you can trigger a new economy for the Caribbean based on the sustainable use of marine resources. Is taking the gifts that the ocean is providing to us to stop depending so much in the tourism, which is not sustainable, which is hurting the ocean, and look at the wonders in nature.
Thank you, Paulina. And we're going to get back to some of the challenges of Talasso Biotech. And to continue with our learning of your innovations, Janelle, Epoch links global payments with environmental monitoring. What specific climate-related problem does Epoch solve for in your supply chain, and what traction have you seen in this area?
Thank you, Nelly, and it's a pleasure to be here. Happy Earth Day, everyone. We work with essentially in soft commodity supply chains, so supply chains of rubber, timber, cocoa, coffee, soy, palm oil, etc. And what we essentially do is work with suppliers of these commodities. So these are growers and processors that are in market. They tend to be in the global south. And we help them essentially put together a scalable monitoring solution, especially for the smallholders that they source from. And what that does essentially is gets them ready for compliance and regulations like EUDR that essentially require these suppliers to kind of represent to their buyers that their commodities are sourced from lands that are deforestation free, but also provide them with a carbon footprint of the ingredients that they're sourcing. And more importantly, help them quantify the carbon removals and reductions that are actually happening at the farm level. For the buyers of these commodities, what we help them essentially do is provide visibility into their supply base and essentially the carbon footprint of the ingredients that they're sourcing. And this has value for them in a number of different ways. It makes it easier for them to report on their Scope 3 emissions. It makes it easier for them to comply with regulations like EUDR, but also create tangible ROI in terms of kind of pockets of capital they can tap into for the purpose of decarbonizing their supply chains. We've been operating in the tea, rubber, palm oil, and timber supply chains. Actually, timber, we're just starting a project with one of the largest furniture manufacturers at the end of the month. And the challenge essentially, kind of the more human element of what we're solving for is really allowing the buyers to pay for carbon removals that are happening at the farm level. And what that means is there's a carbon premium payment that goes from the buyer to the supplier of these commodities and then distributed to the farmers, essentially insetting payments, which in some cases, have the potential to increase farmer income by 10, 20%. And these are the parts of the community that are affected the worst from the effects of climate change. So in some of the supply spaces that we work with, they're already seeing the impact of climate change. They're already seeing flash floods and extreme weather events that are affecting their livelihoods. And this type of an incentive mechanism not only ensures that they're building resilience within their plots, but they're also essentially shoring up their income stream to include, to have the value around the good work that they're already doing. That's in a nutshell what we do, and happy to go into challenges. There are many at a later point in the conversation.
We're going in there next. Thank you so much, Janelle. And next we have Kriusha from Mozambique, and please correct me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly because I might have. You've designed a new bioswale typology in Mozambique, and we're wondering how this nature-based solution tackle urban drainage issues and what challenges did you face in implementing this project, aside from letting us know a little bit more about CIFAR.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity of being here and presenting a little bit of Shibasili. So Shibasili started during my master's at UCD in Architecture, Urbanism, and Climate Action. And the focus was on nature-based solutions that essentially tackle stormwater management in a completely different way that conventional drainage infrastructure do. Because conventional drainage infrastructure looks at water in the city as a problem to be quickly removed from the urban environment as soon as possible, while sustainable drainage systems, which is what we focus on at Shibasili, look at water and they try to deal with water where it falls. So attenuating the flow, absorbing as much as possible, but not only that, also filtrating water, because stormwater pollution is a big problem nowadays. The water that is managed within our city washes off all the pollutants in the streets and the solid waste and collects everything and directs it to the water bodies where it finally flows through. And this causes a lot of negative impact in aquatic ecosystems. So sustainable drainage solutions use nature, vegetation, and specific soil mixes to manage stormwater. Specifically at Shibasili, we are working with a bioswale. A bioswale, regular bioswales are linear solutions that function as underground sponges. They have specific plant species that have higher water absorption rates to deal with water, and engineered soil mixes with more sandy soils that are more permeable, so they absorb more water and they filter pollutants in this process. And they help to slow down the flow speed so that you can properly manage, because usually what happens during heavy rains is that you have a big volume of water and the systems cannot manage all of that and they end up overflowing. It's what causes flooding. And so sustainable drainage solutions are a very important resource to supplement conventional drainage, buying them time to manage all the water. And here in Mozambique, where we are from, we are facing a lot of heavy rains and cyclones. We have rainy season that goes from 5 to 6 months a year. And with climate change, these events get more intense and more frequent. And even during what's supposed to be our dry season, we're also facing heavy rains. So now we are in the process of research and development still of our solution. We finally, after quite a while, managed to have the authorization from the municipality to build our first prototype, a 30-meter long prototype that experiments the innovation in our bioswale, which is apart from what regular bioswales do. We repurpose solid waste to increase the pore space within the system and to allow it to have a larger water storage capacity. So if you think about, for example, a glass full of sand, you think about how much water fills into that glass. Or if you have a glass full of rocks, you have more pore space within them, so then you have more water that is temporarily stored underground. Instead of flooding in the surface of the street, it's going to be temporarily stored underground and absorbed by the plants and by the soil in that system. So we have now, we're in conversation with the municipality to build this prototype that is in a flood-prone street nearby a hospital in the district of Cañaca here in Maputo. And we're going to engage with the community. We're going to start with the consultation meetings with the community to present the project, to explain how it works, to also raise awareness regarding climate change and how sustainable drainage are important in our urban context, and also start a waste collection campaign so that we can have the material to build the bioswale with the community. So we're very excited about that and looking forward to show you the next results about it.
Thank you, Krisha. That's really, really interesting. And over to Samuel in Nigeria. You run 2 initiatives in Africa, Tech for Good and Eco Africa Digital, both focusing on sustainable economic growth. Tell us a little bit about your initiatives and some of the impact it has achieved in the communities you serve so far.
Thank you so much. I hope everybody can hear me. It's a great time to be here, just learning some exciting things. I was writing down some of the cool stuff I'm already hearing from other founders as myself. I'll start by saying that many African youths do not really care about climate action. They just want to make some money. And that just caught my attention at a very, very young age, living in the UK, studying economics. I thought to myself, how do I change the economy of Africa to make sure that they start to look into climate action? Because they're going to be one of the largest population of young people in the coming years. And I thought to myself, it's better to just show it to them as simple as ABC. So ECHO stands for Environment, Community, and Organization. We started 8 years ago in the University of Salford. What we were doing was just getting students to come together and tell them, find a problem in the environment, find a problem in the community, find a problem in organization that's related to climate change, and partner with organizations around Salford and solve that problem for Africa. By doing this, we got problems solved for gorillas in Rwanda as an environmental problem. We got problems solved for kids in Malawi as a community problem. And lastly, these young people came together and created one of the first summit that was focused on using technology to solve problems for Africa. What did they do? They just created a platform and allowed people to share their problem using the concept of ECHO. So if you had an environmental problem, take a picture, post it on our platform. If you had a community one, take a picture, post it on our platform. If you had an organization one, take a picture and post it on our platform. We got about 54 problems in the space of 2 weeks, and PwC called us in and said to us, this could eradicate consultation from the world. Take, for instance, if you took a city and you measured the environmental data of that city, the community data of that city, and the organization data of that city, you'd be able to connect innovations and the solutions that could help that city thrive. But most importantly, you'll be able to help the young people know what they should learn and the value they should understand to contribute to the environment, community, and organization of their location, not just focusing on making money. Again, we need to change that concept. So what the ECHO innovation represents a paradigm shift in how we address environmental challenges through the integration of advanced technology, collaborative network, and sustainable practices. As our core, we as ECHO Africa Innovation aim to harness the power of innovation to tackle pressing environmental issues, foster resilience within these communities, and drive positive change. That we have done is the development of a decentralized climate monitoring. As soon as we see it, some organization can adopt it from our platform. The system utilizes a network of IoT systems, which we don't have a lot in Africa. So this is some of our challenges. AI algorithms, and even blockchain technology to collect real-time data on climate indicators such as temperature, humidity, precipitation, air quality, even food scarcity across various regions of Africa. By leveraging this technology, we believe that ECHO can accurately assess the impact of climate changes on local ecosystem, communities, and even the economy at large. Take, for instance, just the organization part of things. If we understood how the organizations were fostering CSR and ESG for a particular location, you've actually created more better economy for that place. I think one of the problems that we're trying to address here is mindset. But apart from just mindset, it's data. We understand that they're saying that a lot of data can solve many of the climate issues. But how do you bring about integration of data from what Kishore is doing to what Janai is doing? How do we integrate it into the ECHO of any location across the nations? Because he could do something, but we don't have that integration. We don't have that measure of data of innovation and being able to transfer it across places. So mindset, data, and even how to actually get the right innovation into the right places. I hope that I've been able to share some of what this is trying to do. But what we tried to do with this is, you can't just get everybody to change their whole concept to ECHO. So what we did was create the PALS network, which is help everybody know how to integrate. So it's either you're coming in as an ambassador or a leader or a partner, which is what we call the PALS network. Everyone here today are pals with me because I can see partners already and I can see ambassadors already and I see leaders already. But most importantly, we wanted to make sure that young people were building tech that was not just focused on making money, but technology that can help climate. And that's why we started Tech for Good Africa Initiative. And so this integration from Tech for Good Africa to the PALS network to forming the ECHO of various cities and countries in Africa, this is our goal. And we believe in the next 5 to 10 years, everybody will be measuring their country away from GDP and using the alternative measure, the ECHO. Thank you. I'll be happy to talk about problems and even some of the challenges we face moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. And definitely we will be not measuring GDP very soon, hopefully, or not only. Very inspiring to hear the four of you and the great work that you're doing locally, all of them with great environmental impact, with a sustainability focus, with a global and local approach. And at the heart of the Alliance, which is to accelerate innovation for climate adaptation, in emerging markets, we wonder, what are the main challenges you face when you started your innovation, when you started your startup, and what has been Like, if you were talking to other entrepreneurs and to some of us here learning from you, what is it that made you overcome those challenges? And how can organizations or member organizations such as the members of the CIFAR Alliance help you to achieve and grow? And I would only ask for your responses to be very brief, to leave a few minutes for the audience to ask in case they had any questions or any comments about your innovations. So we're going to start with Paulina again, as you started before. Tell us a little bit about those challenges.
Sure. So, I mean, several challenges. We're talking, when it comes to Sargasso, it's a new phenomenon. So first of all, I think the lack of regulation or like a standardized regional regulation. So it's very important. It has been very important for us to work together with nonprofit organizations, with United Nations, with big environmental organizations, coastal communities, and different governments, put them to talk together to articulate like some sort of framework so we can all work together in the same direction, or else we're like having isolated efforts that are not really solving the problem, but just creating like a lot of confusion. And then the second one, the seaweed ingredient industry is a very established industry, very secret. They work in secret because they make a lot of money. So sometimes they block innovation. And here is where, like for us, it's very important to have community-based solutions. So we want to include community. We want to create more work, like spaces. We want to decentralize and make more democratic the access to technology, so more people can be benefit. And that can be a little bit challenging as well. Like this very well-established industry sometimes block innovation. So you just have to be like persistent and continue working, go to the lab, like work, talk to everybody about what you're creating and how it can benefit the communities. And of course, the funding. When you're creating a new industry for a region, it's not so easy to get the trust of like traditional investors. So we need people who are open to adapt quick to these environmental challenges that we're facing, to see opportunity where others see problems. So these have been like the biggest challenges for Talas. And of course, support of CIFAR and like big organizations. We need you to validate the models that we're doing. We need you to support and just amplify the message so we can finally get our solution in the ground, benefiting people, benefiting the environment quicker, because this is an emergency.
Thank you, Paulina. Over to you, Janelle. What are some of the challenges and how can we be helpful? You're mute.
Sorry. We're a for-profit organization. We're venture-backed startup. So the way we think about these challenges is, how do we position our solution so that it's 10 times better for the user, whether the user is the corporate buyer of these commodities or whether the user is a supplier that actually sells these commodities. And there has to be a very clear ROI for why they would do this. And what we've found is there's a patchwork of incentive structures that apply to the demand side that actually pay for these carbon removals and carbon reductions. And it's not consistent globally. And part of the challenge that we have is, how do we create a unified message for global companies, that operate in different markets, that actually have their supply bases in different markets, to be able to generate a very clear ROI for them to take action against, against the worst climate impacts in their supply chains. And we're starting to do that more and more. There's a ROI story to tell about building a more resilient supply chain. There's an ROI story to tell about tapping into incentives and other market mechanisms like green bonds and things like that. But that story needs to be amplified to the point where it becomes an ROI positive activity for buyers to invest in their supply chains, especially incentivizing them to decarbonize as quickly as they can. I think one thing that you asked about, like what I sort of wish or what I would kind of hope other entrepreneurs in the space think about is to essentially solve for fall in love with the problem and not the solution. We started this company with a problem statement, like here's a problem and how do we solve it, and the problem being agricultural supply chains emit about 9 gigatons of carbon, agriculture and forestry, and at the same time the suppliers and the growers themselves, farmer incomes are dwindling and they're losing power in the process. So how do we address both of these issues? And at first we started looking at carbon markets, and we realized it was really not the right solution. And within supply chain decarbonization really had a lot of the ingredients that would solve the problem. And I think for us, the approach of really falling in love with the problem and not being attached to a specific solution helped us make that pivot. And I think we still have a long way to go, but we think this is the direction in which the markets are going, and we think scalable change can come from putting scalable financing to work around these issues.
Thank you, Janelle. It's really inspiring how you're all leveraging technology and your own passion to overcome these challenges. And over to you, Kiusha.
Yes.
What are some of the challenges and how can we be helpful?
Yeah, so for me, well, so a lot of what have been said is true as well. But mainly, I feel like, for example, in Mozambique, sustainable drainage solutions are something that is completely new. I presented in a conference for a specific conference for WASH academics and professionals, a conference focusing on urban drainage, and I presented about sustainable drainage systems, and this was something that was completely new for everyone that was there. And this is a big challenge as well, because it's a different approach, a different logic, and people are not familiar with it. Then we face a lot of resistance and even suspicion that this is something that might work. So advocacy is something that is very important, spreading the word, showing that new solutions are possible. And not just that, because I presented several case studies, but what people want to see is that they want to see the real thing. They want to see the solution implemented and see that it's working in their own context. So it's also very important. This is why I'm so excited about this first prototype, because it's something that I'll be able to show people they can see and touch and then get more convinced about that. And to do so, it's important to have visibility. It's important to have support in terms of finance support as well, so that we can implement all these solutions, grants and etc. And also support in terms of policy. Now in Mozambique, we are undergoing a revision in our urban planning policies, and it's these types of situations that open a very important window so that we can reinforce this type of solution, more sustainable practices, more nature-based solutions into the system as a legal obligation, something that can make it accelerate the use and the implementation of these new strategies. So I feel like this is something that is very important, but also in terms of, because our solutions, they fall into the public space realm. We have this inherent connection with governmental bodies, and they can be quite slow and bureaucratic, and this hinders innovation a lot. Even in terms of our legal registration, for example, as a company, we want it to be a social enterprise, but Mozambican legislation does not account for social enterprises. You're either a regular company or you are an NGO. And especially in the construction sector, you have a lot of requirements that really favor medium to large companies, and small companies that usually are the ones making the innovations in something that is not mainstream. Then you have a lot of restrictions, and it's been really hard for us because we have to meet requirements that we as a small company are not able to. So these are some of the challenges.
Thank you, Kyusha. And Samuel, it's going to be harder for you to think of challenges that have not been said before, but over to you to hear and learn from you.
I love that. Fair enough. I think that one of the challenges I see personally, I think that I've taken time over just doing Echo since 2015 to look at the challenges and just build solutions around them. So you would hear me talk about Tech for Good Africa because technology is they're solving those problems through volunteering and unique methods, and we can get open source technology through that means. On the aspect of, networking and finding the right organizations and even sharing the story of who we are and positioning ourselves, we sort of created that PALS network to say, okay, CIFAR can become a partner, and we're working with many leaders, like all the leaders speaking on here, to get more ambassadors to work for what they do and filter it into a particular way that can create a good way of measuring ecosystem. I keep hearing ecosystem everywhere, but I'm like, what is ecosystem? You start having climate ecosystem and tech ecosystem and finance ecosystem. Can we just have one ecosystem so we can measure it from your ecosystem is what are you doing for the environment of that place, the community of that place, and organizations in that place? Because every solution you've mentioned here today functions in that regard, from agriculture, from the environment, feeding some community, to fostering organization being able to pay for it and get a proper ROI. All of it, and even to just see, all of it is fostering something for a particular location that can be transferred to another location. So we just have to have structures. I think if I'm talking to CIFAR today and saying to you guys, first of all, just say thank you for this opportunity to just share, because that's the beginning of it all, to start to share this thing. But I think that what I'll ask for, and I'm straightforward to asking for this, is please help us find this organization. You're already in various organization, countries, continents. Help us find those organizations that we can use our concept to help them structure themselves effectively to make that climate impact. It's very important. Take, for instance, I was listening to Mr. Jinal, and I'll say to myself, to create a better ROI, I heard him say two things. He said, how do we make sure that the organizations are getting ROI, but also the farmers are getting ROI? Those organizations are partners, and the farmers are leaders. You need to get some ambassadors to make sure that you're creating the palace for your organization. I've already given you structure there, and we can then work on that more effectively. So more organization that we can use our concept to help. Another thing we're having limitation with, and I think CIFAR can help us here with, is we've never taken funding. I've bootstrapped this myself, honestly. But again, we need that funding. So to help us with infrastructure, I'm building my website now. I build it all by myself with young people, and are just some money I make from doing other jobs. But finally, I'll ask for this. True and transparent partnership is one of the things that we lack as startups. True and transparent partnership is sort of like every partnership has some sort of intricate financial thing that's limiting us, and I blame that on GDP and how they've designed it. But there's no true and transparent partnership, and I think that CIFAR can help facilitate some of these true and transparent partnership that can help filter funding to use of innovation to impact in various locations. I think this is my ask, and I believe that all of you guys that have heard me, you start to think of some ways that we can work together to create some better solutions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. Well, I could not have thought of better ending remarks. I just want to highlight what you shared, the sense of urgency that Paulina started with, the importance of leveraging technology and sharing and changing the regulations and the way that things are set up for these innovations to thrive, the urgency of creating awareness and creating these partnerships that we need. The idea and the importance of seeing all through the value chain and the impact that we can have in these industries that Janelle shared, And of course, this a call for true and transparent partnerships, that this is certainly what we want to do and what we try to move forward within the CIFAR Alliance. Thank you all. I could have not have thought of a more inspiring way for all of us to celebrate Earth Day than hearing and learning from you. Thank you, and you're always invited to the CIFAR Alliance, and hopefully we can bridge all of the conversations or any support that you may need. Over to you, Mr. Fripp.
Thank you, Nelly, and thanks again to this extraordinary panel. I mean, it truly is a privilege to have all of you here with us and sharing your perspectives and your demand for action. We hear you, and I think there's a lot of exciting themes that you have highlighted that we will be following up on, not only in this conversation today, but in the conversations that follow. I think before we go into our breakouts to dig deeper into some of these themes together, we did want to take a group photo of our global community here assembled. You know, we're not all in the same room, but we are in the same room, and the Zoom room, and we want to celebrate and document this moment. So if you need to take a second to compose yourself for Riasta, you ready? Yes, me too. I have to, fix my hair always. It gets a little wild. So Nelly, are you our camera person?
I'm
You're gonna give
ready.
us fair warning
As they come up on the screen. It's so great to see you.
Excellent. Everybody show your smiling faces, even though maybe early, might be late, but you look great.
One,
Everyone. All right.
2, 3.
Earth Day.
Thank you.
Nice. Wonderful. Thank you all. Well, we're going to spend a few minutes now in breakouts. We have two really exciting facilitated conversations in some of the thematic areas that have been highlighted in the panels. The first one, our colleagues Graham and Wendy will be presenting and hearing feedback and discussion around the recent white paper produced by the Elevating Voices of Affected People collab. Some of you may have seen this, but and hopefully you've read it, and you'll come prepared for a dynamic conversation over the next 30 minutes. So that's breakout room number 1, and then breakout room number 2. I'll be joining my esteemed colleague David Dalcer for a conversation around the emerging inclusive climate finance strategy and framework that CIFAR Alliance is exploring as a priority for 2024 and beyond. So really exciting to have the chance to present some of those ideas to you, and to get your feedback, suggestions, thoughts, challenges, and see how we can make things better together. So you should be able to select your own breakout by going down to more, your little 3 dots there, clicking on your breakout rooms, and you should be able to jump into the rooms you choose. And if you need some help, give us a shout.
I'm sorry, Jess. I didn't hear what the first breakout room is. My connection.
So the first one, sorry, yeah, we have a little connectivity, I noticed. The Elevating the Voices of Affected People. So really talking about the reason that you're doing all the amazing work that you're doing, and how do we keep the client at the center of our work?
Okay.
Thank you for that. All right, we'll see you back here in 30 minutes.
25.
25, sorry, thank you, Nelly. Getting over generous.
I'm waiting to see how the balance shakes out. It seems like we've got a lot of engagement in both groups.
Yeah. I think I might join Wendy's and Graham's. This white paper is really interesting, and
I'm having a really hard time. So I think I will lean toward the inclusive climate finance, and we can regroup after Nelly and trade notes.
super Jackson.
All
Thank
right. See you in a minute.
you. It's never enough time. I'm sorry, Graham.
Indeed, we lost Jackson. You were just putting a closing point on it.
Of course, I lost track of the clock there at the end. Rambling
But
on.
these are so great. I'm glad, like
Yeah.
Wendy said, a lot of people are constrained and the urge to leave when breakouts come.
Gotta go hide. We didn't have that problem. I don't think this time around.
So I think we have a few minutes for our hosts at the breakouts to share a little bit about the main highlights of the breakout room in your team. Graham, do you want to lead? Or
Oh,
Wendy?
I was going to defer to Wendy, but yeah. So we discussed locally led adaptation, and it gave an illustrative approach, and talked about the importance of digital technologies to accelerate and optimize both planning and then monitoring, evaluation, and learning from the implementation of those locally led adaptation strategies. And the reason that we wanted to stress locally led is because affected communities are already, have deep knowledge of the challenges, and also have indigenous approaches to responding to a lot of them. And so it's really important that we draw those out and look at, bringing those communities into the adaptation planning process. And then we look finally at blended finance and the role that blended finance must play in order to leverage the existing sort of multilateral funds and private sector funds to begin to bridge the enormous gap between what is required for adaptation and what is actually available at the moment for adaptation. And then finally, we posited that MFIs might be a particularly good way of leading locally adaptation planning because they have reach into the communities. If they collaborate with community-based NGOs, they can build really effective plans and also begin to finance some of the plans that are made. Wendy, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, 2 points. One is my alter ego negative Nancy. Locally led is really hard. And a lot of people would be almost right to say, let's run away from that, because how do we scale local solutions? And yet the thing I think we also want to underscore is that it's only until we pay attention to context can we look at solution design that actually can address constraints that may actually help us get over these issues around access and usage of solutions that support climate adaptation and resilience. But we need to acknowledge the hard parts, which are context is going to vary wildly, and that matters too for us to pay attention. So a lot of what we are talking about is very aspirational, but we want to keep pushing the conversation to focus on local by looking at the impacts of climate events and the opportunities as well. And then a plug. Our first working group meeting with this focus is May 20th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm putting my email address in the box so you can all join. Thanks.
Thank you, Wendy. I think Jesse or David are going to share for the Inclusive Climate Finance breakout. You have 1 or 2 minutes.
Over to you, David.
Over to me. Well, we discussed we discussed a number of angles around the opportunity for impact of focusing on financial products that are now either climate smart or funding access to climate solutions. And I think the consensus was that there's a lot of those climate solutions out there, but they're not really being matched properly with, say, climate finance, because they're working in silos, and that's kind of the challenge to break those silos and connect the dots that may already exist, which seems a lot easier than creating the solutions in the first place. So hopefully this is a good avenue for impact. We also talked a bit about insurance and other financial products that can help low-income urban businesses or farmers. And yeah, I think that was it. I don't know, Jesse or anybody else in the breakout room in 30 seconds, if there's anything else you'd like to add that I forgot.
No, I think, David, you covered all the key points. I think in a lot of ways, for me at least, listening to as we went around the table, the role that CIFAR Alliance and its members can play as a convener, as a solutions generating, sandbox to make some of those connections with existing products and services, and also adaptation of proven products and services that might be seen to work in certain circumstance and can be retooled into new contexts would be really helpful, because everyone's struggling with capacity constraints, and that might be a place we can provide a lift.
Thank you, Jesse.
Oh, there we go.
Next in our agenda is Juliet Muro from FSD Africa, one of our founding and most supportive members of the CIFAR Alliance, who will share about our recent publication, the CIFAR Ecosystem Playbook, that was sponsored by FSD Africa, and particularly thankful for Juliet, who made amazing and great contributions and additions to the text. So we have this final report that Julian is sharing on the chat. So Juliet, if you want to share a few words of this work.
Yeah, thanks, Nelly. And I haven't prepared a fancy speech or anything like that, but we've been supporting the CIFAR Alliance for a while. We've got a sort of what we call an ecosystem budget that we use to help with this kind of thing, because we're all interested in ecosystem, and it was interesting one in the panel sort of talking about what kind of ecosystem are we talking about. But I think, we're sort of wanting to strengthen an array of different ecosystems, I think, and we cross over many of them. And obviously, someone else mentioned in the panel, we've got an urgent crisis going on. And I think that in order to try and solve for that crisis, there needs to be strong partnership, and CIFAR is really all about that partnership. And so what we've done, what Nelly and David have done is really just sort of written up where we are to date as a CIFAR Alliance. What was the overall objective in the first place? What are the kind of approaches that we've been using to date? What are some of the learnings that we've experienced that we're wanting to share? And that's through the various publications, of which there are many, through the events like these and others. We've had a number of different events over the last couple of years or so, and through the collaboration that we've had both with the collabs and through intentional programming that we've done. And so I think it's a really nice kind of summation of where we are as an alliance. It's a bit of a call to action amongst all of us existing members, but it's also an invitation to bring in new members. And so hopefully it's going to be a useful tool for all of us to be able to share with people that might not be in the alliance network, and that we might want to bring in, and sort of give them a flavour of what we are, but really very much with an open door about how we go ahead in the future. Because as David and Nelly highlights in the document, to use analogies from biodiversity and nature, we're fluid and we keep evolving and moving in different directions. And I think that's a really important attribute for the Alliance to take on. So that's as much as I'm going to say, Nelly, but it's been great collaborating with you on it.
Thank you so much, Julie, and thank you so much for the support putting this work together and your support to the Alliance in general ever since its inception. So to end, and before I give it over to our co-chairs, I just want to also give a shout out to Ali and Carolina from the Center for Inclusive Growth. We had a great week last week at the Inclusive Growth Global Event Summit in Washington, D.C. And also Julian will be sharing in the chat, sponsored by MedLife Foundation, our recent event at the Skull World Forum the week before, where we held a session on gender intentional climate solutions. And last but not least, Julian will also be sharing the annual report that was recently released with some of our journey, and highlighting some of our knowledge products and what we achieved so far, and particularly last year. So with those words, and over to you, David and Jackson, to close this up for all of us.
I'll take 30 seconds. Sorry, and Jackson, you can maybe wrap up because we're out of time. I just, for those who are new, I just wanted to highlight the amazing talent and innovators that we've brought in. like Kusha and Paulina and the others. And for those who are not new, but look at the talent we're working with. I think it's very exciting. And I just wanted to give sort of a heads up that it's in the cars, not fully papered, but it's in the cars that we'll be expanding the Tech Adventure Launcher over to Mexico. We're very excited about that. And also, we've been talking about inclusive climate finance now for a couple of these sessions. We're excited to make that happen as well in the next few months, to confirm that we'll be working with some of our members on a facility like that. So just stay tuned. The work keeps evolving fluidly, like as if we were alive, like Julie was saying. Jackson, any final closing thoughts?
Yeah, I'll stay very, very brief here also. I know we're over time. I had a very long Oscar award style thank you speech written out here, but I'll scrap all of that because I would probably miss a lot of people anyway if I tried to name names. But like Juliet said this really well, this is an ecosystem and a community. This is our community. Everyone would encourage you to just continue to lean in even further and contribute in whatever way you and your organization are best positioned to help to accelerate action that delivers results on the ground for the affected communities, that supports the amazing innovators who are doing the hard work, bootstrapping in local communities, and Janelle and Samuel and Paulina and Kusha. Thank you again for joining us today. You are the shining examples of what we mean when we say that we are aiming to deliver results for affected communities. So thank you very much, everyone. You know where to find David and I, and Jesse and Nelly. And we'll see you all again soon. Happy Earth Day.
Thank you.
Read the annual report
Happy Earth Day,
in
everyone.
the chat.
Thank you.